Hey guys, this is Jonathon Henderson with Pressure Washing Marketing Pros, and I got my good friend David Moerman of Home Service Business Coach with me today. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. We're going to go off script and have fun.
Yeah, man, going off script. So I told David, before we jumped on this call, I was like, man, with our chemistry, I don't need to have a script. I don't need to have a set list of questions. I know that me and him can just talk shop for hours. This is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour, guys, but we're going to basically cover today David's new book that he just came out with, Get Off the Truck. Because I know a lot of you guys that watch our podcast, consume our content on YouTube, your exterior cleaning business, a lot of you guys, I'd say 70% of you want to get off the truck. You want to have a team. You want to have a life to where you're not stressing as much. And David, if you guys have been living under a rock, he coaches exterior cleaning businesses and home service businesses in general. He just sold his business, Revive Services, as well. They were, doing seven figures in that business. And so we're going to talk not only how to get you off the truck, but also how you need for the guys out here that are doing 500,000 or more, how you can structure your business to be sold. So yeah, I know that was a long-winded thing right there, intro, but yeah.
I love it, man. Thanks for having me on and happy to jam on the book or really kind of answer questions maybe that haven't even been asked before. So however I can be of service for the next hour, let's do it.
Let's do it, man. So first off, so I know you run the coaching program, Home Service Business Coach. And if you guys don't know what that is, I'll put that in the description. But let's talk about the inspiration behind your book, Get Off the
Sure.
Truck, right? Like what inspired you to go ahead and write this book?
Yeah, I had a lot of people talking to me for years, Jonathan, saying, "Oh man, you should like write a book. You should put your knowledge in a book." And here's the thing, like all these books behind me, they're good. Some were great, but a lot of times in a coaching role or in your case, a marketing company, authors will like create a book in like a weekend or like, in a really short time and just like crank it out. Like you and I both know what a lead magnet is, right? So
Yeah.
I could, if I wanted on this book, done it in a weekend, used my friend Grok on X, and we could have wrote a book and said, buy my $10,000 coaching program. I could have done that, right? Wouldn't have been hard. But I purposely took 3 years to write the book and really take my time writing. I actually tried to get it out before our son Beckham was born, but I just felt, man, it was at like a 7 out of 10, and I couldn't, in good faith, like bring it to the market. So I ended up taking almost another 2 years to like refine the book, get it re-edited, edit some sections of it. And so this is now the finished product, no ghostwriter, not a single word was written by AI. And I've had so many people tell me the book reads much like a podcast. There's like no theories, it's just like gut punching, like to the point. So the inspo just came from, I feel like it's a gift I have of knowledge in this service-based industry. And
Mhm.
I've grown four home service businesses over 16 years. And I just have rarely ever been on the truck. It's just always been very easy for me to not do the technical work and like dive into the business side. So I thought, you know what, if I can package up that knowledge, price it on Amazon as affordable as I can, and pass it out to the whole world and see what happens. And yeah, so far into launch week, like me and my team are just like blown away at like the response. Like people are tagging us, posting in Facebook groups. It's just like been like so exciting.
Yeah, and that's great. And guys, this is David's second time on our podcast. And so, I didn't want to just hammer on the things that we've talked about before. So if you want to go ahead and also see the previous video that we did where David didn't even sell Revive Services yet, and he talked about his journey, you guys can get that in the description. But I know David does have in his team over at Home Service Business Coach, which is great, they have a wealth of knowledge. And so I know that this book was going to be inspired by some of the questions that you guys got, everything. So let's get started into it, David, when it comes to that, because
Yeah.
like I said, you don't really need an introduction, man. A lot of people that watch this podcast know
Yeah.
exactly who you are. Like I said, sold a seven-figure exterior cleaning company, all of that. So the first thing I would say is if I'm a business owner and I'm doing under 100K, what
Mhm.
should my mindset be first? Because you're not going to be off the truck. Some guys watching is going to be like, "Hey, man, like I'm not
Yeah.
going to be off the truck. I'm doing 75,000 a year right now. I'm barely scraping by. I'm doing this part time." So for our
Mhm.
guys that are stuck at under like 100K, what's one of the first actions that they can take in order to get off the truck?
Yeah. So good, man. Like I would say, It's totally fine if you are on the truck right now, like physically doing 75 grand. Like I get it. I can't go hire someone full time. But like, dude, the if you're physically on the truck, like your mentality should be off the truck already. So what I did when I was on the truck for the first couple months getting Revive going, we did 89,000 in the first year. I didn't know how to window clean, I didn't know how to gutter clean, and I didn't know how to pressure wash. So it took me like 2 months to figure out how to do that. But man, while I was getting that going, I was already starting to put job ads up to recruit for a part-time assistant to come and help me. I was already taking before and after photos. Dude, from our first job, I was asking for a Google review because I'm just like, I need those Google reviews going. I started it like that's when I launched Revive. I got the Instagram handle, the Facebook page, and the domain name. Those are like so. I was still like developing the business, albeit I was on the truck for the first couple months, and that was totally fine. The problem is someone who reads this book, if they're in like their fourth year still on the truck, dude, they have what I talk about in my book, chapter one. They have a technician mindset, and that's a big problem. So if you are on the truck and revenue's low, I would beg with you to use 50% of your hours in the work week to invest in sales and marketing. And if you look at, that's Dave of a 40-hour work week, 20 hours of sales and marketing, that is your pathway to exit off the highway of insanity of technician work and start to be a businessman or a businesswoman. The problem, I work 40 hours a week. I'm on the truck for 36 of them. That's a huge problem right there. So how you do this? I'd rather, Jonathon, guys and girls do their jobs 3 days a week. Cleaning windows, pressure washing driveways. I'd rather you do that 3 days a week than 5 days a week. Because I want to have those 2 days a week guaranteed locked in for marketing. That's the only way to get off the tools. It's this chicken and egg thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I gave you, Jonathon, the 75 grand right here, if I just approved on your jobber 75 grand of work and spiked you to 150, that would get your butt in gear to be like, oh, dude, I've got enough sales. I can go get someone. I can't do 150 grand in 2 months. I need to go get someone. But you got to almost create your own windfall of jobs. And so if the marketing department's not buzzing and you're not talking to pressure washing marketing pros, you're not putting your flyers out, your signs out, you're just stay stuck in the mud. And you're always going to fantasize about, when you go to bed, you're going to be like, man, what would life be like with a technician? And then you're going to tell yourself this lie that employees screw up. They're not going to do as good a job as me. I'm gonna just stay lean and mean. I'm gonna be a solopreneur. You're gonna tell yourself all these stories, which is fine, because it just comes down to choosing your hard. And for me, growing Revive, I just chose my hard to grow the thing. And quick correction too, like we finished just under 7 figures. Didn't exactly hit it with the revenue, but we were kind of just under that mark. But it was still an autonomous running business for 10 months of the year. In our high months, we would do 135,000. In January and February, where I live in Canada, we would do like, if we were doing 10 grand, we're like happy because we're just like snow on the ground. So I ran like a 10-month a year model. And our biggest year, we maxed out having 5 trucks ripping full time in like the busy months. And we also added on Christmas lights as well. So this whole book I wrote comes from a place of not just like, oh, this sounds good in theory. I've coached people to do this. I actually did this with my own business for 8 years and dealt with all the crap that comes with running a home service business. So that's kind of like the gist of like how I'd go about at 75K right now. The last thing I'll say, man, you see this with companies you work with. When you get the owner with the right mindset, like they're just on the move. Like I had a 20-year-old kid on our coaching call yesterday, our group call. He's doing 200 grand this year in his first year out of the gate, and he's so hungry. I'm just like, that guy's mindset. He's on the tools cleaning windows right now, but in a year from now, I know that he won't be. So it comes with this like identity, what you see when you look in the mirror. Do you see a business owner or do you see a painter or pressure washer? No way is like, oh, I'm better than others because I have employees, and none of that. It's just what kind of business do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to have? And for me, I hired 54 team members at Revive, dealt with all the employee issues that come with that. I would do that again in a heartbeat because it bought me freedom, bought me a lifestyle, and bought me income.
And you're right, David. And I think two things that you said that I really want to highlight is that you have to choose your heart, right? Like, are you going to choose a heart of just staying broke? And I hate to say it, like it's not bro. I'm not saying you're broke, but are you going to choose that hard in the sense of like just being under 100K? Because a lot of that, you know, man, and I tell this to people on our sales calls. I say, because some guys might get offended by that, but I'd say literally just eclipsing to that 100,000 mark a year is just hard work. It's just about consistency and hard work, just like you said. And to kick yourself in gear at every single level, you have to create an uncomfortable environment. Whether and what guys don't understand is that even when you hit 500,000 or seven figures, you're gonna have to do the same thing as create an uncomfortable environment to reach that next level. And
Yeah.
so that same next level is going to be the same experience that you experienced at 100,000, 500,000, seven figures, right? It's going to be the same exact thing that you go ahead and do. And then the second thing that I like that you said is just focusing on sales and marketing, how you allocate your time. Because the thing is, you know, the thing that's really funny is that, and you probably know this too, David, with a lot of the guys that you coach, is that a lot of guys create their own slow season. And for example, like periods like the summertime, right?
Mhm.
Because what do we do in the summertime? When everything's flowing, when there's a lot of leads going on, what ends up happening? Guys stop marketing, they stop doing what they were supposed to because in January, February, they're pre-booking everybody. They're wondering why they're so busy because they're doing marketing beforehand. And then they stop
Yeah.
doing all that. And then the summer hits and they're like, it's just vacations and all of that, right? So I'm pretty sure you get the same thing. Now, what would you say to the guys that it doesn't even have to be revenue level, but let's just even say that they're at 250,000, whatever it may be, but they're like, David,
Mhm.
I like, because I know you get this rebuttal. They're like, I like being on the truck, man.
Yeah.
I like being on the truck. I like doing all of that. Like, what would you say to a person that's like, I like doing the work, man. I like pressure washing,
Yeah.
I like cleaning windows, I like installing lights. What would you say to that guy?
Yeah, man, there's absolutely nothing wrong with liking to do the work. For me, my first question would be, do you like doing the work more than you like achieving like a bigger vision for this business? If you want to rip 250K and be the guy, Tom, doing all the jobs and making 120 grand on that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The only again, choosing your hard. Tom's going to struggle with making any sort of money when he's away. It's always really scary when the owner's the only one, I call it, that can ring the cash register in the business. Like one of my favorite things was, Jonathon, you travel a lot. Like you go away and you pull up your CRM and you're like, cha-ching, new deal closed, new
Yeah.
lead in, this got done. Like I love, like even at home, man, I love when like the laundry's going, the dog's getting walked, the food's in the oven, I'm walking my son and my wife's reading a book. When I can go like three or four or five things. I just feel like so amazing when multiple things happen at the same time, and a business is kind of the same way. So I'm not here to convince anyone to say, oh, the guy with the $1 million business is somehow, more valuable or all they've done. They like you get paid. Here's the thing, man. You get paid in life for the size of problems that you solve and the impact that you create. So, Tom, you do 250K, maybe you clean 200 houses. Congratulations. That's great. The guy doing $1 million, he's going to create more impact because he's employing, seven, eight people to do that, two people in the office to help run the back end. And instead of doing 200 homes, they're doing 1,200 homes. And the person, yeah, I just had Mike Handy's on my show. He's got like 200 franchises all over the world cutting grass. The impact of that is astronomically larger. So
Mhm.
as risk gets bigger, reward goes up. There's nothing wrong with Tom wanting to stay stuck. I would just ask what happens in 5, 10 years when the body starts to break down. A lot of times, Tom tells himself a story that his business is, he does 250K in revenue, so he should get 2x his revenue in an exit, which is not going to happen. A lot of times they dilute themselves of the company value. And most businesses just never end up passing on. They end up dying. They don't end up selling. They're not systematized. So I personally think there's more wrong with Tom's business than someone who chooses to grow. But I think business skills, man, can be learned too. Because, people say, I mentioned in my book, I was actually stuck on the truck, but in my own business, I was stuck in the office. And I told myself this story that no one can schedule on Jobber as good as I can. I had the whole thing dialed in. It was awesome. And I sat there, man, for an extra year. So we did 89 grand, then 155 grand because I stayed in the office for that season. The third year, I didn't touch Jobber. I just went out and sold. We went 155 to 582 in the same one season because I said, why am I doing $18 an hour clickety click office work. I
Mhm.
should be out where the guys are. I should go door knock and go sell jobs. So that's what I did. And the revenue is a lagging metric of how hard you push the marketing and how few hours you can be on the job site. And here's the final thing, man. Best compliment an entrepreneur can get. Congratulations, Dave. Congrats, Jonathan. You are the least relevant person in your company. People don't even know who you are. The whole thing runs without you. That is the best compliment you can give me. I call it superhero syndrome in my book. If people are like, "Wow, Dave, you are the best business coach. You work with so many of your clients." That's not actually a compliment. I want to have impact. I want to be the least relevant person. I want to be the founder, start it up, systematize it, and then I want to put a really good team in place.
No, you're definitely right about that. And I think one key thing that you just hit on, because it can lead us to our next, it can lead us to our next segue that we can get into is they're going to be like, well, I don't have enough jobs, right? And I think one key component that you just said right now is that you just said you door knocked, right? You just
Yep.
said that when you were at, when you're going from
Yep.
150 to 500,000, you just said
Yep.
door knock. And when
Yep.
you say door knock to these guys out here, they don't like to hear it. I know you know that, man. They don't like to hear
Yep.
it. So, what would you tell guys that are struggling with their marketing and so they can't get off of their truck because they're like, hey, man, what strategy would you implement first, or what mindset would you have them consider when it comes to getting more jobs so that they can actually get off the truck? Because earlier we spoke about, we said, hey, in order you have to create that environment to where you have more demand, so it forces
Mhm.
you to hire, right? Either you're
Mhm.
forced to hire or you get a lot of one-star reviews because you showed up late, you did a bad service, whatever it may be, right? And so, what would
Yep.
you tell guys in order to go ahead and market their business right now if it is slow?
Yeah, a great question. I think you have to first assess your own ego. For me, man, with my businesses, I've always cared significantly more about the end result than I have what people care about me or say about me on my way to get there. Let me ask you this, man. How do you think I got my first 100 clients at Home Service Business Coach? Do you have any idea?
No, no, you probably the first way that I got my first
Yeah,
25. You probably were DMing on Facebook, weren't you?
100 dude, three. So for 2 years, Canada lockdown and pandemic, I started Home Service Business Coach.
Uh-huh.
Literally, people are like, "Who are you? Tony Robbins? Who do you think you are?" 3 hours every day. We'd put on a show on Netflix. I would just sit with this iPhone 3 hours a night and I would DM people. I got my first 100 clients, man. I made my first $1 million from this iPhone, literally DMing people. Fast or rewind what 10, 12 years prior, I'm a 20-year-old kid in college. My
Hmm.
soccer scholarship was gone because I had concussions, and I thought, man, how do I figure out this painting game? And I joined a franchise, and I door knocked my way to making 100 grand in a summer when I was 23, and I got into real estate investing. And so we could do a 4 hour podcast, man, of every name I've ever been called at the door or in my DMs. It would be comical, but I do not care because I achieved my goals with my businesses and got to the end result. So I personally think if you, let's say 1,000 people listen to this, I would say only 26 of them actually have the balls to push it to the end zone and go door knock or go get told screw off or go get told anything. The other, whatever the math is, 900 and some odd, are going to take the easy route and want to say, that sounds like a lot of work, man. And that's why just, man, most businesses, small businesses, like just don't make it because you lack that grit. And I would say, man, your first 36 months of business, I talk about this in chapter 9. It's great work-life balance, and I get you and I now we're more established, so we can have that balance. But dude, my experience in growing 4 businesses, the first 36 months, you're just they're like, dude, I would take Sundays off, but I'm just like was going. And thankfully, 3 of those businesses were done when I was single in my 20s. And the last one was done pre-kids. So now I think it'd be really tough to grow something quick given I don't want to call them constraints, but my life circumstances change now as a married man, as a family man. So I just think the balance kind of drops for the first 36 months. But if you can dial your sales and marketing, whether you're door knocking, it's so important. And the last thing I'll say, I tell all our clients this, like, don't I'm not going to tell you to market with the way I would say that's incongruent with your values, right? So if on this call, man, I get a knock on the door and it's a guy selling window cleaning door to door, I guarantee you I'm just going to buy it. I'm just going to buy it because I was that guy when I was 19. And I'm like, dude, I love the support of people. I would buy it and I'd give them a copy of my book. I would literally do that. But if my wife got the door, she'd be like, man, this person's annoying me, right? They're taking me away from this. And she doesn't have that same 16-year story of entrepreneurship and hustle. And so, like, for her to start a business door knocking, it's not congruent to her values. But for me, I'm like rock and rolls. I think most people as a consumer don't like door knocking. So I'd say don't do it in your business. But for me, I love it because that's how I got started. So I would say I'm good with it for my own businesses.
Yeah, so and David, for me, it's the same thing. I called it digital door knocking. Basically, kind of what we did, right? To where I would break down somebody's website and then I would DM them. I would DM them, whatever it may be. I just say like, hey, and I know in a coaching kind of thing, you're probably gonna get called more names than I did. I got called a couple names, but at least I'm giving them something free, right? At least I'm giving them like, hey, here's an
Yeah.
audit of your website. And I think people underestimate the sheer work that you have to do. It's kind of like what I said, like a rocket, right? Once a rocket's already taken off, it's smooth sailing. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it
Yep.
doesn't take as much maintenance, but to get it lifted off, it takes so much work as you talk about in those first 36 months. And so one thing that I know you said about a 40-hour work week, man, do you truly think they can achieve with the 40-hour work week, man?
In
If they want to like take off in the sense of like being able to establish those systems? Because I know, man, you
to
probably worked more than 40 hours
Yeah, no, I did. So my whole, like, I would say, man, from 19 years old to like Revive was really stabilized way more in like 2020. So I would say that was like a period of like 11 years. I would say 60 hours on the high end for me and 50 hours on the low end. So it's always whenever I'd get more than 60, I would just be like cooked. And
yeah.
like lower than 50, I'd felt I'm not doing enough. But here's the thing, if someone's listening, I'd say you could do 40, man, if you're coming in with some business acumen. Like, here's the other thing, man. People are like, man, how did Revive grow so fast? Like, the red hot tip is honestly like I actually ran a painting business prior to that and kicked pretty good butt with that. So I took a lot of that knowledge and I was like, boom, let's just go door knock now for window cleaning. So I kind of learned those skills. So I would say if someone's coming in with some prior small business acumen, I bet you could do it in a 40. And the other thing, most of our listeners, man, start their business with like a few $1,000. I know I did. If you came in with like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 grand of like seed capital, I think you could like go from day one and like put someone in place and, pay for the CRM up front and do some more things that most of the listeners here, I know I didn't start that way. So just most of my teaching is more like, let's assume you have no money, but you have a lot of time and you have a lot of like ambition. We can work with that. Absolutely.
I like that answer that you had. I really like the answer that you had about the business acumen portion of it. Because you're right. Because really the only thing about this is that why it takes longer than what you anticipate or expect is because you have to learn the mistakes along the way, right? And then
Yeah.
once you learn the mistakes, but some guys don't take enough action so that they can do what? Fail faster, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? To what?
100%, man. And you look at guys like you and I now that have experience, in the online space. If we wanted to cook something up, we could do it pretty quickly. The other thing, my son is 2 now. I'm just like, dude, if ever he comes to me, and I hope he does, and is like, Dad, I want to start a home service business. Like I'm thinking mobile detailing or like poop scooping or like
Yeah.
something local. Dude, I bet we could get him to like 100 grand in his first year. And I'm not gonna do it for him, but I'm gonna be like, all right, you dial in your system and we'll do this. And like I really think he's gonna have that opportunity if he wants it. And I think for me, man, like I grew up the shyest kid in high school. I barely had any friends. College, I finished, but I was too scared to even ask a question because I didn't have confidence. I learned confidence on the doors, man. And I learned how to talk to people. And if you go and put someone like me into 3,000 homes over a decade, selling paint jobs and cleaning jobs, you get pretty dang good at just talking to people about whatever. And it literally transformed my personality, was learning the game of sales and marketing. And now it doesn't matter what business I do. I just know what needs to get done in the context of a small business.
Exactly. And I think that ties back into what you said earlier, about just forcing your hand at just taking that action because whatever inputs you put obviously dictate the outputs that you have in your business. And so I think that, like we said, you have to create that uncomfortable environment. Now let's segue into, let's say I do have like some employees, because I know this is a big problem you guys have. Like, let's say that finally I do have the money, right? Because I know
Mhm.
that a lot of our listeners too are in that stage where they're at like 250 to $500,000, right? And they're in that
Mhm.
stage. That can be a very hard stage to be at, even harder than
Yeah.
like I think under 250 is just a marketing issue. You know what I mean? Just
Yep.
people don't know you, all of that. I think once you get to the 250, 500, 250 to 750,000 space, let's just say
Yeah.
that, right? I think once you get to that mark, it's more about the systems. And I know you're the systems guy, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But what would you tell guys, and like what do you see like is the biggest pain point that guys have at 250 to like 750? You know what I mean? What do you think
Yeah.
biggest pain point that they have? I can say
Lots,
I
man.
personally think, but I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, I want to hear yours too. It's funny, man. You called me the systems guy. I just had a flashback for everyone. When I flew into Huge Convention, I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours late because my plane was like messed up and I had to get a new plane. And you were like, dude, how's the systems guy? Did you not have a backup plane
Yeah,
set up? I was just like
yeah,
thinking of that. It's so funny.
yeah.
But lots of things, man. I'll probably riff on two or three here. Number one, I think at 250 to 750, it's a big range. The owner, I would say, if you looked him or her in the eye and said 0 to 10, how competent is your technician or technicians? They would say like a 7. Like for me, when I exited Revive, I passed off 5 absolute stud technicians that, like, in my eyes, were all like 8s, 9s, and like 9.5. And so that's the best thing, man, when you can dispatch a job to a technician or technicians that are like, they fit my core values. Like my right hand man, Steve, literally knew the code to my house and my garage. Like he's just like trust him with my life kind of thing.
Mhm.
And he really helped me grow Revive. I shouted him out in the book. And so that's like the first thing is remove all your 5, 6s, even 7s, and just top grade your talent. Like I would be more concerned, Jonathan, if it was you, that you would have one solid technician versus like four, like I call in my book, like let's just omit the word helpers from our vocabulary because I hate seeing it in these Facebook, my helpers. I'm like, who wants to be a helper in today's day and age? It's insane.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. Um, Number two, I would say the owner needs to look in the mirror and just literally say, how much money do you want to make? And question B is, what's the value of your time? So here's the thing, man. If we have 2,000 hours in a year to work, let's say the owner, and I asked the owner, Tom, how much money do you want to make? Not top line, but let's say you hit 500. Tom wants to make, let's say 100 grand in pure profit. So 100 grand divided by 2,000 hours is $50 an hour. So Tom needs to, is the word, delegate all the tasks that are lower than $15 an hour. So when I was sitting on Jobber, Jonathan, scheduling for 18 bucks, I literally got like outputs equal your inputs, right? I literally got the profit results that year for $18 an hour tasks. Where the next year we did 582 and I ripped past 100 grand in pure net profit because I had a better understanding of my time and I did stuff worth 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100 an hour. So you just need to get clear. What's the income you want to make? Divide that by 2,000 and stop doing all, I don't want to say these menial tasks, but I posted on my Facebook yesterday. There's someone in the world right now that would love to do the jobs you hate in your business. So just take a piece of paper and T-chart it. Jobs I love, jobs I hate, right? And
Mhm.
start getting rid of those things that you really don't want to do. So that'd be the next one, is just a really solid handle on your time. Like I would say my time, Jonathan, it's almost like robotic how I've gone through my day of like, okay, Like I would sell most of my work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just I knew those were sales days,
Mhm.
and I would turn up and I would go and book the job. So that'd be the second one. The last one, man, you need someone that can make the cash register go cha-ching, other than the owner. Could you sell your way up to 750? Sure. For me, I sold my way to 582, and then the next year we hired a salesperson, and that was the next tier of the business, so that Dave didn't need to be the one going and selling. But I would say at 500, you should still be, Russell Brunson calls it the attractive character of your company. You should still be the face. You should be the one selling. But I would start to get, in my case, at 500, I got an office manager that could actually sell. So I would have him actually do assessments, draft them up in Jobber. He could send out anything $500 or below. Anything above 500, I would just meet with him and look it over and be like, yep, change that, send it out, do that. So he was ringing the cash register in that year, and then beyond that, we had a salesperson that could grow. So those would be like three lifts I would do: trusted technician, value of time for owner, and learn delegating, and then cash register go cha-ching. Other than the owner, if those are the only three things you do, notice I didn't say top grade your equipment. Um, change font on website, do get nicer shirts. Like all those things are, you got to know, man, what's like the necessities, and then what's like the optimizations. And like the three I gave you, those are the necessities. The other are just the optimizations. And too many Facebook group convos are about optimizations when we should be focusing more on the majors.
No, you're right, and I want to unpack a lot of what you said. And by the way, what I think is it kind of relates to what you think when it comes to the 250, the 750 is just going to be like you do need somebody that can sell, but also on the back end. So just to have a fourth one that we'll add on here is that once you do get the cha-ching going on and you start getting somebody that sells, you need to have the systems in place on the back
Yeah.
end. You know what I mean? To be able to keep those customers, to be able to keep them engaged because one thing that David, like when it came to painting, that's probably why you pivoted to exterior cleaning. It's like a one
Yeah.
night stand, right? You paint somebody's
Yep.
house, and then, dude, they don't need you for another 10 years or whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
So you're hunting a new person. And I think that what the exterior cleaning industry doesn't understand is that yes, it's seasonal, right? We know it's seasonal, and that can be a downfall of it. But also another thing too, though, on looking at the other side of it is that I can have four customers in one.
Hmm.
I can go in March, March, April time frame, clean their house, summer time frame, clean the roof, fall time frame, clean their gutters, winter time, hang their lights. And I literally
Yep.
just from one person, that's like four customers right there. And so I think that guys don't, what I see like with businesses like yours, like with Katrina and all of them at Revive, and a
Hmm.
lot of our clients that are doing 1 million, 3, 5 million, a year in that
Hmm.
sense, is that it's not anything different. They literally just have the back end system to retain clients and to retain
Yep.
customers. And I feel like that's a leaky bucket for a lot of guys. And so, they'll guys can get and I see it all the time, Dave. You talked about it. I can see guys get 100 leads, or like I can see a guy coming to us and say, like, hey, Jonathan, I'm only getting 10 leads right now with this agency I'm working with.
Hmm.
Then we start working with them, they get 80. But guess what,
Hmm.
Dave? They stay at the same spot. And then they're like, oh, these leads are bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm too busy or I can't close this. And it's like, dude, you're
Yeah.
only gonna be able to intake like what you're like let's say you had a system or like a machine. Whatever you
Yep.
input in that machine is like on the whatever comes on the other end of that is only going to be as good as your machine is. Your machine
Yep.
is terrible, you're gonna get you put in BS, you're gonna get out BS, right?
Yep.
So that's my
You
take
pro
on it, man.
Dude, that's such a good one. You nailed it, and I think there's too many people that are business owners that show up with like, I don't want to like sound rude, but show up with like an employee mindset, right? Like, oh,
Mhm.
I just want to be like spoon-fed high quality leads. Like this
Yeah.
is what you get. You literally, I got paid at Revive, man, to go. I called it getting professionally married. I would marry my crew to homeowner, and I did it 5,500 times. Just like I got the best crew, and you got some money, and you want your time back. Boom, you guys make a match, and I scheduled it all with tech. And really the best marketing for us, man, was building a brand. And I'll tell you a quick story on that. When I exited the business in March, I gave like the new owner group, I gave them like a gift. And I got this like nice email written up and I had it ready in Jobber. We'd use like Jobber campaigns to email our list 4 or 5 times a year.
Hmm.
And I transferred the ownership to the owner and I said, hey, there's like a nice email sitting. All you got to do is like click send. I already like set up the list and everything. So he's like, okay, sure. And boom, hit send. I saw him a week later, man. He booked 89 grand from one email, just like boom. And I'm like, there you go. Nice full schedule. Like, see you later. And it's just like, that's the power of when you build a brand and you have a loyal base of clients. We had our email list at 4,100 people that we could just go, boom, you've given us money before. Here we are. Here's our services. We got a promo. Boom. I couldn't do that with my painting business. So that was one pivot out. The other one was I talked about this on my podcast a lot, but just my view towards franchises. And I was kind of stuck as a franchisee paying royalty fees to a brand that I didn't own. And so Revive was like, oh, it really hurt, man. I was making such good money painting. I'm like, I got to leave that business. I'm going to go do a new thing. I know it's going to be a few years of pain, but I'm gonna push it anyways and grow my own brand. So that was like another big reason for the jump too.
Yeah, of course. And so the next step I want to talk about, because while I have you here, Dave, I'm trying to hit
Let's do it.
on all the hot topics that people always like, the constraints that a lot of people have. Now, you mentioned you wouldn't be able to probably sell Revive if you didn't have those 8+ players. You know what I mean? And those players that
Yeah.
were like 8 to 10, right? So
Mhm.
tell me how you were able to attract those people or gain the knowledge in order to know how to hire, because as
Yeah.
as we're talking about all of these systems, as we're talking about this, as you know, Dave, like there's
Mhm.
gonna be guys that are saying like, yeah, they're doing 400,000. Like I hired this guy, and then like you talk to them 2 months later, and they got a new tech, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
every quarter, man, they got like an entire new team, you know.
Yeah.
And so, what are some things that guys should look for in terms of hiring? How can they attract, great talent into their business, and how can they attract those 8 players? You know what I mean?
So good, man. I'll give you an analogy. It's kind of like you have buddies, I have buddies. They always have like a new girlfriend, right? And it's just like they have no stability, and it's always like 2 to 3 new girlfriends a year. And I'm just like, okay, so but man, this like if I had to pick a favorite chapter right here, chapter 6 is yeah, building a team of rock stars and like I've had the people like on my team at HSBC. We're a small team, 8 people who know me the best. They've almost all told me, man, the one thing that I do better than anything is chapter 6. I get great people on my team. I get them inspired for where the business is going, and then I let them do their freaking jobs. And I've done that so many times that I just think that I'm good at it. And so I put exactly how I do that in chapter 6. But I'll give you like a few of the Coles notes nuggets how to do it. The first thing you got to do, all the listeners right now, your business is only limited based on the psychology of the owner. So if you believe, I don't want to sound too woo woo, but if you truly believe, Jonathon, this is like a 300 grand business and that's as high as we get, you're going to get like one rock star probably that'll be loyal to you and probably shut down in the winter, and that's probably it, right? And that is what it is. But if you're like, dude, this could be like $1 million business in like 3 or 4 years, and I'm gonna need like 10 awesome people to do it. Like we chatted about, we both work with Ryan Batts, right? Shout out to Ryan,
Sounds
and he's
fine.
got the mindset, dude. Multi 7 figure bit. He's growing to the moon. This guy. It's how he thinks and that mindset, it's infectious, man. It's like people on this show right now, if they've listened this far, there's something about how we're talking. They're buying into it. They're like, dude,
Hmm.
these guys know what they're talking about. I actually think this is not AI generated some bullshit. This is like really real. And so in that way, your vibe very much attracts your tribe. So I called myself CEO at Revive, man, when we were doing 89 grand. And I said, we. Who the heck is we, right? It's
Yeah.
you and a pressure washer, a crappy one at that. But it's this. If you take nothing off this show, man, you speak the language of the person you want to become. You speak the language of the person you want to become. So I spoke the language of CEO, of growth oriented CEO. Dude, I hosted a vision meeting when we were doing 200 grand in sales. I booked a conference room. I got food. I sat my few employees down. I said, this is where we're going. I'm gonna need a right-hand production manager. I'm gonna need a sales manager. I'm gonna need a GM that makes 100 grand. I want to build this thing. And I got people in that room that like stayed with me all the way to the exit at Revive. And shout out to Revive, the new owner. They've moved in, man, brand new shop. They're wrapping beautiful vans right now. Getting the owner to come to our conference at Summit. And he took what I built and he's 9 years younger than me, Jonathan. And he's just like, sweet business, Dave.
I mean,
Like
he's
your vision, you,
20s.
and
Okay.
he's 27, man. He's going. And I'm coaching him, helping coach him along the way. It's just super cool. So to say you need a vision, your own psychology is going to limit the business. But I always just said business is a team sport. And I've grown like a solo individual company. It's fine. But it doesn't really excite me. I actually think the output and the fun, the impact is better with a team in place. So that's just how I see the world. And that's how I saw Revive was like, let's put people in place that are actually better than Dave. And the last thing I'll say, man, I think I had an advantage in that starting in 2014, I would just disappear to go to Asia for 40 days every single year.
Mhm.
And I would keep the business running while I was gone. And so the best way to get an autonomous running business is just like get the owner out of town. Like, Jonathan, get out of here. Go, just go. Let's see what breaks. You come back and you fix it. And that's the last thing I'll say is I just don't really get upset, man, when bad things happen. Um,
That's a key component. I had to
uh,
learn
uh,
that. I had to learn that
Dude,
myself.
so literally I was making breakfast for my son yesterday and he was asking me like, Dad, when like we're talking about his emotions, he's like, Dad, when do you kind of get mad? And I was joking. I think my wife overheard me. I'm like, let me tell you a time about 15 years ago when Dad got mad. I just like stuff breaks, you make money, lose money. It's all just temporary here on earth. So I'm just like, I don't feel like I hold even this book, man. If we only sold 2 copies, I would be disappointed, but it wouldn't like it
Would
just
stop you from
dude, I no, I
embracing
just
the book again.
I'm not married to like the outcome that this has to happen this way. So I think if you're actually a little chiller in business, I think it actually serves as like an advantage, in my opinion.
You embrace failure, I think. I think that's the biggest thing. You don't have to necessarily be chill, but I think that's what you do as is because I know that I love the video that you had on your podcast and on your YouTube where you talked about your greatest mistakes. Right.
Hmm.
And so some of the people that I look at that are like, obviously in the marketing space. And so I have my own coach, I have my own coaches
Yeah,
actually. Right. So
nice.
I was telling you earlier that I'm going to be getting a new coach as well, with the other coach that I have too. Right. And the biggest thing about it is that like you just start to realize like these people that operate at such these high levels, they'll be like, oh, I'm getting a lawsuit right now. Oh, my personal assistant had stolen 20 grand out
Yeah,
this. And they're just like chill, they're just like going
yeah,
about their day about it. And then they just fix the issue. And I know that when I first started out doing business, I just like we would get a client email come in.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, like, hey, it's slow right now. I'm getting, and I would be like, oh,
yeah,
like letting affect me. And now I'm just like, my team, I've trained them on how to handle this stuff. We're gonna get this,
yeah.
and I like that. So I know that
Dude,
we're coming. Go on, no, go on.
sorry, I just got to shout you out, dude, because even when I was just starting my process for exiting the business is when our revived GMB went down, dude. I was out on a date. My wife ran to the bathroom and like I keep my phone upside down for a reason because I'm just like so I get an email, I check my email and it's from Google. It's like Revive. We had 470 reviews.
Uh-huh.
And it was a huge part of what the buyer wanted was like the team, the Google reviews, the systems. I was like, your account's gone. I'm like, okay, this looks like spam. I search it. It's literally like permanently closed. So I literally get your name. And anyways, we worked together for a period of a few weeks.
Yeah.
And I felt like I tried to maintain my cool pretty good there. And dude, to shout you out, like you got my GMB back up and it's still live today with the new owner. And I'm just like, I feel like you like saved the day there. So I appreciate that.
No, man, you're all good. And I know I was telling you because there's a couple of other people in your group too, like Peter, all of that. And
Yeah,
I know you guys, because I know we were talking about the Hughes convention. We were having dinner, man, and you're just like, you were
I
cool about
know.
it, man. I can see underneath the surface, like, I'll be like, hey, Dave, let's go see the show,
Yeah.
man. Google business profile, man.
Yeah. Can't do it.
But I
Yeah,
know, I
can't
remember I
do
was
it.
telling you because I know that like all this stuff like that you had gone through with all of that. And I was like, dude, because I ain't gonna lie, I was like, I know we're the best at getting it back, man. And I know for a lot of your people that are in your group, man, dude, honestly, just in your group alone, we've probably like reinstated maybe 50 people's Google business profile.
Wow.
It's like, it's just kind of like what we do, man, like in
Yeah.
terms of, it's just something that we've done a lot. And so no matter what situation people are in, I'm like, we got this. Like,
Yeah.
they're cool. I give people that confidence. But I like that though, man. So get off the truck by, David Moerman right here, as you guys can see. So I will link the Amazon, you know what I mean, or where
Sweet.
people can buy the book. Like I said, guys, we'll read off some of the chapters right now that are in there. So you guys already know all of this stuff right now. So
Yeah,
chapter
dude,
one.
I tried to pick like the nine like main topics. So yeah, go ahead and rip them. Tell
Yeah,
them what
man.
they're in for.
So chapter one is creating your vision. Chapter two, your mindset is a foundation. Chapter three, systems will set you free. Chapter four, your most precious resource. I wonder what that is. Chapter five, running a profitable business. Chapter six, building a team of rock stars. Chapter seven, how to promote your business. Chapter eight, how to book profitable jobs. And chapter nine, taking care of you. And you know what, man? I know that you did this in order of like how people will, because you got to set the mindset, you got to build the
Yep.
systems, you got to have the team in place, you know what I mean? And then you got to know how to promote the business. Then once you promote the business,
Yep.
the jobs, you got to know how to make those jobs profitable, right? So
Yeah.
love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, hey, I know you're a busy guy, man, and I really appreciate you for taking the time to get on here and just educate our viewers and our listeners as well. I know that we have some of the same cross function with that. As you guys also know, I'll be linking it in there. I'll be linking the book, guys. I'll be linking the previous podcast that I did with David. So you guys can, if you want to know more about him specifically and his story growing it, I didn't want to cover that on this one, guys. I want to cover it because we already covered it before. So we'll link that. And then obviously home service business coach as well. If you guys want to get
Yeah.
off the truck and you want to get coaching, because I'm going to shout out coaching. I'm going to shout out the people that you have, because some of the people you have in your coaching program, man, I mean,
Give them a shout out.
whenever we have them here, like yeah, there's Ryan Bass, there's Matisse, there's Paul, like there's a lot to go ahead and count, man. There's Jack Craigs, there's a lot of these people, man, that come into here that have the right mindset. And
Mm.
so I can be a personal testament to say that the guys that you coach, man, they move fast, they have the systems, they have the right mindset. And
Yeah.
I think that when people look at coaching, like even me getting another coach in that sense, I think what people don't understand the value of coaching, and that is they'll say, I can just get his book. I can just go to the YouTube and like get that. And it's like, no, like, yes, you can get the information, but what happens when you have a very specific problem in your business, like very specific,
Mhm.
where you had an employee that had, like, for example, it's never happened, but let's say that you haven't, because I don't know if you ever knew this, Dave, but I was a part owner of a junk removal business. I sold my part of
Oh,
that
wow.
back in 2023. Yeah, man. So that's
I
how
didn't know that, dude.
yeah, that's how
Nice.
I kind of know some of this stuff. But you would look at it and you say, what happens if your office manager is dating one of your technicians and she gets pregnant? Like, what do
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah.
And that true
Yeah.
story that happened. Like,
Wow.
what do you do in that kind of situation, right? And so
Mhm.
you're not gonna be able to just go to YouTube or read a
Mhm.
book about that. You're gonna need a
Yeah.
coach that's gonna be able to get you through that. So that's just
Yeah. And
something that I look at. Go on.
totally. Well, it's just funny, man. What we actually do for like our top level clients, we started doing this last year is I actually took like what I did at Revive. We had all like hundreds of systems and we've now like white labeled them for our clients. So if they need, an inbound call script, they need an outbound call script, they need email temp, like they need hiring position agreements. So we literally taken that and they now can like put their own logo on and it's like good to go with agreements. So I actually look at the thousands of hours I actually systematize my own business. I've now taken it, packaged it up for our coaching clients. And so it's funny as you talk, I had a light bulb moment. It's almost like what we do with my coaching business is we teach entrepreneurs how to think like business owners, like
Mhm.
entrepreneurs,
Bingo.
like CEOs. And it takes us about a year to make that happen. And in that process, when they're ready for the digital marketing, we send them over to go talk to Jonathon at Pressure Washing Marketing Pros. So it's just like a kind of a cool relationship, I think, that we've got. And I think you're seeing clients get benefit from both sides of it. And man, as you read the chapters too, I just want to like say this too. Um, Growing a business is like one of the hardest things that a listener here will ever do in their life. And it's not like contrary to that's why I like your stuff, Jonathan. It's like a lot of marketing gurus are like, dude, this should just happen overnight. I should just turn on my ads and it should like if you're below $1 million, a lot of what you're doing is still just testing everything. Like who's your ideal client, who's your ideal technician to hire, how do Google ads work in your area? Maybe Facebook kicks butt in your area and Google ads aren't, or maybe LSA is turned on or it's not. Or man, we've had other companies grow to $500,000 like I did. I got to 600K, didn't even touch paid ads because I was
Yeah,
so good at just setting up coffee meets, and I would do door knocking. And so a lot of it's just being okay, almost open palm to like, I'm gonna just test. That's what I'm doing at HSBC right now, man. We're gonna just test marketing. We're gonna test and see what works, different offers, and like no
bingo.
one's got it fully figured out. And with what's happening with AI, just fall in love with death, taxes, change, and AI. It's like
Yeah,
just be cool with stuff just happening. And that's the beautiful thing of entrepreneurship is I can go to bed and sleep really good with like a pretty high amount of uncertainty and be like, I think I might like that's why my team busts my chops. They're like, oh boy, Dave's changing the program again. I almost do it like every year. I'm like, just like,
yeah.
so it's just like when you love the game we get to play, you, like don't fall in love with keeping things in this like super rigid square box. Like creativity and change, I think is good.
Bingo. And we'll end on that because I know you got to go here soon. Is that yeah, I 110% agree with you because we're not perfect. But the thing I even told you is like we were talking about some of the offerings that I plan on offering in the future. And I was like, I plan on offering like this service in the future, right? But I was like, in order for me to offer this service in the future, I have to know like even with Facebook ads or Google ads, you know that you can run those because people are gonna have demand. But when you run Facebook ads, which a lot of guys will run Facebook ads, but they don't understand the fact that you as a business owner 50% of what comes with Facebook ad of your Facebook ad results are going to be what you do as a business owner. What does that mean?
Yeah.
You have to have a thinking process. Who's my
Mhm.
customer avatar? What kind of
Mhm.
jobs do I want? What's the biggest pain point that I have? You know what I mean? Or like
Mhm.
the most objections that I can go ahead and overcome in a video, right? What can I make my ads different? You know what I mean than
Mhm.
other people? Because I know you, I see your ads for home service business coach, and we're gonna start running ads here for pressure washing marketing pros, and you're gonna see
Sweet.
who your competitors are with that stuff, and you're like, how can I make myself different? But guys expect somebody to come there and be like, yeah, just put a before and after of a roof cleaning thing, man, and run
Yeah.
it. It's like your customer's not going to get motivated by that. So
Well,
go on.
that's the other thing too, dude, is like marketing that worked for me back in like 2016, 17, 18, 19. I'm not saying it doesn't work now because it still does, but I think marketing's getting a diminished returns everywhere. So you need to be a Swiss Army knife with marketing. Like I don't think it's unrealistic that a $500,000 business would have 7 or 8 different leads. At HSBC, we have like 13, like just different lead inflows. Cause like, I don't know if one tap turns off. So even when you do engage Jonathan's company, I think you're really smart to still run a ground game, still
Bingo.
build your
Bingo.
partnerships, keep the review. Because dude, like we lost our GMB for 65 days. It was gone.
Still,
We had really good months in August, September because we had those
yeah,
different inroads. So it's just like with stability too, like you don't want to be super built up. And I think you used to be able to rip a pressure washing business to 500K on like 1 or 2 lead channels. You still like
not
the
anymore.
odd person could, but the general population, I think you should get 6, 7, 8, more the better.
Yeah, no, and you're right about that. And that's why I set the mindset that the guys that you have in your program that they instantly have that a lot of guys that aren't in coaching, they don't have when it comes to that. And so it's just going to be about the mindset. It's going to be about testing, 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 because everything's not going to work out. So
Yeah.
yes, David, thank you so much, man, for your time today, guys. Like I said, get the book, get off the truck. You're gonna have Home Service Business Coach linked in there to talk to his amazing team out there. And then there's another thing that I said I was
Uh,
gonna.
I got one more bonus to give away though, dude, is the link you put up below. If anyone buys 10 copies, I'm not going to do Hormozy and say 200. So if you buy 10 to give out to your landscape buddies, your plumbing buddies, other people that book can benefit, you can just email our team, info@homeservicebusinesscoach.com, say you bought 10 copies. I will personally, these are all personally signed beside me. I'll personally write in your book and ship it to your favorite shipping address. So I'm gonna put that on the table too, man, for those that want to get a signed copy.
All right then. Well, yeah, let's go. Well, you guys got that offer right there. We have that. Like I said, David, thank you so much for your time today. I know, man, we can honestly talk for 5 hours if we wanted to, man. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
want to keep this like how it is. So yeah, guys, if you guys have any question, like I said, David and his team actually do, and they can answer the questions in the description or like in the comments below for these videos as well that we're going to be posting on here, whether you're watching on YouTube or on the any podcast platform like Spotify, Apple. And David also has his own podcast too. That is really a good wealth of information also. So you guys should go ahead and check that out. Where can they check that out at, David?
Anywhere, man. Just like home service business coach anywhere is my stuff. And then Amazon, like if you just put in get off the truck, it'll literally reroute if you're in Australia, Canada. It is selling all over the world right now.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, David. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video or the next podcast. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, man.